What's up, America? Y'all know who this is. Dropping it. Since the slave holocaust, black people have been accustomed to not having rights in this country. Since 1555, when we came over here, we have been consistently the victims of the oppressor. Even though slavery was abolished in 1865, justice for the black man and woman here in America has been non-existent. Many companies whom are still around today have been conglomerates as a result of slavery. Although this was the worst violation of human rights this country has ever seen, no one till this day have been held accountable for slavery. Attempts to receive reparations have fallen on deaf ears. Many whites and some blacks as well are in opposition to reparations. The Jews, whose Holocaust was less severe than the estimated 100 million or so slaves that were killed during the transatlantic slave trade, has received compensation for the atrocities committed against them and their people. It seems that justice here in America and all over the world is blind when it comes to black people. When a black person is arrested, many whites, and blacks as well, automatically assume that he or she is guilty. Most of these assumptions often boil down to the fact that the person accused of the crime is black, therefore guilty. Many blacks have been convicted of crimes based on all-white juries, which are supposed to be unconstitutional. Because according to the laws, you're supposed to have a jury of your peers. In 1982, Mumia Abu-Jamal was convicted of murdering a Philadelphia police officer. The night of the killing, Mr. Jamal was also shot and was beaten on his way to the hospital. His trial was the worst case of injustice ever witnessed during that time. Mr. Jamal was later convicted of this crime and sentenced to death. Later on, it was discovered that many of the witnesses against Mr. Jamal were intimidated to side with the prosecution. Some even recanted their testimony before the appeals court, yet Mr. Jamal's conviction and death sentence was never reversed. He sits on death row today professing his innocence. In 1963, Medgar Evers, the National Field Secretary of the NAACP, was murdered in Mississippi as he unloaded boycott material from his car in front of his home. This killing sent shockwaves in the black communities all over the United States. Byron Della Beckwith, a member of the White Citizen Council and the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, was later found and charged with the murder. He went to trial twice in 1964 and 65. In both cases, all white juries was deadlocked and Mr. Della Beckwith was set free. Many prominent entertainers like Bob Dylan and Nina Simone protested and made songs condemning this miscarriage of justice. Della Beckwith was finally convicted in February of 1994, more than 30 years after the killings of Mr. Evers. In 1955, a young man by the name of Emmett Till was brutally murdered in the small town of Money, Mississippi. Emmett Till had been shot in the head, had his eye gouged out, and was thrown in the Tallahatchie River with a 75-pound cotton gin attached to his neck by barbed wire. It took 3 days for the body to be discovered. This because Emmett Till, only 14 years old at the time, spoke to or whistled at, depending on who's telling the story, to a beautiful white woman by the name of Carolyn Brine. Miss Brine, outraged, told her husband Roy Brine, and he and his cousin J.W. Millen came to the young Mr. Till's unhouse, dragged him away and killed him. These two men were never convicted by all white juries prepared for them, and subsequently admitted to killing Mr. Till in a magazine interview years later, in which both were paid $4,000 for their stories. In 1963, 4 little girls preparing for church service at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, were killed by explosives secretly planted by 4 members of the Ku Klux Klan. Addie Mae Collins, Carol Robinson, and Cynthia Wesley, all just 14 years old, along with Denise McNair, only 11 years old at the time, were killed instantly. The culprits was later to be revealed as Bobby Frank Cherry, Thomas Blanton, Herman Cash, and Robert Dynamite Chambers. Chambers was convicted in 1978, more than 15 years after these murders. Cherry and Blanton were convicted in 2000, some 37 years after. Cash died in 1994 before he was ever tried. As you can see, there's countless examples of justice being carried out at a snail's pace when it comes to white people. These should serve as an example on how the wheels of justice turn so fast for black people. In my video, Are There Any Good White People?, many white people came on my channel accusing me of being one-sided. So I ask you, my friend, looking at the evidence, is justice blind or just colorblind? You tell me. And on that note, I teach and I don't preach. Peace.